The Lion of Burkina, Captain Ibrahim Traoré's rise, the seeds in sacred soil. Before we proceed, we kindly ask that you consider showing your support by liking and subscribing to our channel. Picture this, 1988. The world is watching Berlin walls crumble, but in a small town called Bondokuy, deep in the agricultural heart of Burkina Faso, something else is beginning. A baby boy takes his first breath. His name, Ibrahim Traoré. Now, listen, Bondokuy isn't just any town. It sits in the Maunhaun province, where the soil is rich, where farmers have worked the same fields for centuries, where children learn resilience before they learn to read. This is the bush, raw, unforgiving, honest. The boy grows up watching his father's hands work that sacred earth. He sees how drought can kill dreams, how rain can resurrect hope, how sometimes when the government promises help, only silence comes. In the evenings, the elders tell stories of Thomas Sankara, the revolutionary president who dared to dream Burkina Faso could feed itself, clothe itself, be itself. They whisper how Sankara was murdered in 1987, just 1 year before Ibrahim was born. Coincidence? The elders shake their heads. The ancestors don't believe in coincidence. The first betrayal. But childhood isn't kind to dreamers in the Sahel. Young Ibrahim watches as his country gets carved up by foreign interests. French companies take the gold. International NGOs take the pride. Local politicians take everything. His parents scraped together enough money to send him to secondary school in Bobo-Dioulasso, the second largest city. But even there, the boy notices something wrong. The textbooks are old, the teachers are underpaid. The dreams are dying before they can even sprout. Ibrahim is quiet, reserved, brilliant. His classmates remember him as the kid who asked uncomfortable questions. Why do we learn French better than more? Why do our minds make others rich while our children starve? At 18, he faces a choice that will define everything. Stay safe, study abroad. Join the exodus of brilliant minds fleeing Africa, for Europe, or dig deeper into the soil that made him. The scholar warrior, he chooses the earth. 2006, Ibrahim enrolls at the University of Ouagadougou to study geology. Not because rocks fascinate him, but because underneath those rocks lies Burkina Faso's future. The gold, the minerals, the wealth that everyone else seems to be stealing. For 4 years, he studies with the intensity of someone who knows that knowledge is the only weapon that can't be taken away. He graduates with honors in 2010, thesis in hand, mind blazing with possibilities. But here's where the story takes a turn nobody expected. Instead of joining a mining company, instead of chasing money, instead of playing it safe, 22-year-old Ibrahim Traoré walks into a military recruitment office. The clerk looks up, confused. "Son, with your degree, you could work for the government, make real money. Why do you want to be a soldier?" Ibrahim's response becomes legend, because someone has to protect what we've built. The making of a lion. But the military isn't ready for someone like Ibrahim. He enters the George Namoano Military Academy in Po in 2010. While other cadets complain about the food, the heat, the discipline, Ibrahim thrives. This is the bush mentality he learned in Bondokuy. Hardship is just another teacher. 2012, he graduates as a second lieutenant. But instead of a desk job, he volunteers for the hardest assignments. They send him to Morocco for anti-aircraft training. Then to Kaya, a town in northern Burkina Faso where Islamic extremists are starting to probe the borders. This is where the boy becomes a warrior. The Sahel is on fire. Mali is falling to jihadists. Niger is under attack, and slowly, like poison seeping through cracks, the violence creeps into Burkina Faso. Ibrahim doesn't just fight battles, he studies them. Every ambush teaches him something about asymmetric warfare. Every lost village shows him how governments fail their people. Every refugee family reminds him why he joined the army in the first place. By 2020, he's a captain, not because of politics or connections, but because when bullets fly, soldiers follow him. The broken promise. But while Ibrahim fights in the field, politicians play games in the capital. President Roch Kabore promises security, promises development, promises change. Instead, the violence gets worse. By 2021, over 1.5 million people are displaced in their own country. Schools close, markets empty, hope dies. The breaking point comes when soldiers in the field, soldiers like Ibrahim, realize they're fighting a war their own government doesn't want to win. Corruption eats the military budget. Politicians make deals with the same jihadists killing civilians. Young men die defending a system that sees them as expendable. Something snaps. January 24th, 2022. Military officers led by Lieutenant Colonel Paul-Henri Damiba overthrow President Kabore in a coup. The people celebrate in the streets. Maybe finally, someone will take the fight seriously. Ibrahim watches from his base in the north, cautiously hopeful. The second betrayal. But Damiba turns out to be more of the same. 8 months of broken promises. 8 months of soldiers dying with outdated equipment. 8 months of watching the new president make the same deals with the same corrupt system. The final straw comes in September 2022. While Damiba travels to New York for the UN General Assembly, Islamic militants attack a military convoy near the town of Gaskinda. They kill over 30 soldiers, many of them young men Ibrahim has trained and fought beside. This is personal now. September 30th, 2022. Captain Ibrahim Traoré, commanding an artillery regiment in the small northern town of Djibo, makes a decision that will change everything. He calls his most trusted officers. The conversation is short. We swore an oath to protect Burkina Faso. Are we protecting Burkina Faso? No, Captain. Then what are we protecting? Silence. Tonight, we take back our country. The coup of the young lions. They move like shadows through Ouagadougou, Ibrahim's forces, mostly young officers who've seen too much blood spilled for too little progress, surround key government buildings, the presidential palace, the national television station, the airport. At 34 years old, Captain Ibrahim Traoré is about to become the world's youngest head of state. But this isn't a power grab. This is a reckoning. When they announce the coup on national television, Ibrahim doesn't wear fancy uniforms or make grandiose speeches. He looks directly into the camera, still wearing his field fatigues, and says something that cuts through decades of political theater. We are not here for positions or glory. We are here because our people are dying, and their deaths mean nothing. To those who should protect them, the country holds its breath. The weight of the crown. October 21st, 2022, Ibrahim Traoré is sworn in as transitional president. At 34, he's not just the youngest leader in the world, he's younger than most of the soldiers who now salute him. The international community watches nervously. Another African coup, another young military officer promising change, but Ibrahim knows something they don't. He's already seen this movie, and he knows how it ends. The French government, which has propped up corrupt leaders across West Africa for decades, immediately condemns the coup. The African Union suspends Burkina Faso's membership. The United States threatens sanctions. But something unexpected happens. The people of Burkina Faso flood the streets, not in protest, but in celebration. They wave Burkinabe flags, not French ones. They chant, Burkina Faso for Burkinabés. For the first time in years, they have hope. The Gold Revolution. Ibrahim starts with something symbolic but powerful. November 2023. His government approves the construction of Burkina Faso's first gold refinery. This sounds technical, boring even, but it's revolutionary. For decades, Burkina Faso has been one of Africa's largest gold producers, but all the raw gold gets shipped to Switzerland, London, Dubai. Foreign companies extract the wealth, process it elsewhere, then sell it back to Africa at premium prices. Not anymore. Why? Should we dig gold from our own soil just to buy it back as jewelry? Ibrahim asks his cabinet. Our ancestors didn't fight for independence so we could remain economic slaves. The refinery isn't just about money, it's about dignity, about showing young Burkinabe that their resources can build their future, not someone else's. The alliance of the forgotten, but revolutions are never fought alone. Ibrahim looks around the region and sees kindred spirits. In Mali, Colonel Assimi Goïta has kicked out French forces and UN peacekeepers. In Niger, General Abdourahmane Tiani has done the same. These aren't random coups, they're part of a broader awakening across the Sahel. Young African leaders who are tired of being told how to run their own countries by former colonizers. July 6, 2024, in Niamey, Niger. Something historic happens. Ibrahim Traoré, Assimi Goïta, and Abdourahmane Tiani signed documents creating the Confederation of Sahel States. The old order is dying. A new one is being born. They announce their withdrawal from ECOWAS, Economic Community of West African States, which they see as a French puppet organization. They create their own economic partnership, their own defense pact, their own currency plans. Western media calls it destabilizing. African youth call it, finally, the democracy dilemma. But here's where the story gets complicated. Ibrahim promised a transition back to civilian rule. Elections scheduled for July 2024. A return to democracy. Then, reality hits. The security situation is still fragile. The economic reforms need time to work. The international pressure is intense. And most challenging of all, genuine democracy might elect leaders who reverse everything he's building. The hardest decisions are always moral ones. May 25 to 26, 2024, Ibrahim convenes national consultations to discuss the future. Civil society participates, but most political parties boycott, claiming the process is rigged. The result, extension of Ibrahim's mandate for 5 additional years with the right to contest future presidential elections. Critics call it a power grab. Supporters call it practical. Ibrahim calls it necessary. Democracy isn't just about elections, he explains. It's about serving the people. If elections bring back the same corruption that caused this crisis, what have we achieved? The international storm. The backlash is swift and brutal. The United States, which had hoped to use Burkina Faso as a base for counter-terrorism operations in the Sahel, condemns Ibrahim as a dictator. French officials, watching their West African empire crumble, call for international intervention. Economic sanctions follow. Diplomatic isolation. Media campaigns portraying Ibrahim as just another African strongman drunk on power. But something unexpected happens. Instead of collapsing under international pressure, Burkina Faso's economy starts growing. The gold refinery project attracts regional investors. Agricultural productivity increases as the government prioritizes food security over cash crops for export. Young Africans across the continent start paying attention. Ibrahim's social media posts get millions of views. His speeches at African Union summits go viral. He becomes a symbol of something many thought was impossible, an African leader who says no to the West and survives. The test of character, but power corrupts even the best intentions. By late 2024, human rights organizations start raising concerns. Political opponents face harassment. Journalists report increased censorship. The very civil society that supported the coup begins questioning the direction. December 6, 2024. Ibrahim dissolves his government and removes his prime minister. Political insiders whisper about internal power struggles, about young officers who tasted authority and liked it too much. This is the moment of truth. Every revolutionary faces this crossroads. Thomas Sankara faced it in the 1980s and chose principle over power. It cost him his life. Nelson Mandela faced it in the 1990s and chose reconciliation over revenge. It cost him some supporters, but saved his country. What will Ibrahim choose? The mirror of history. To understand Ibrahim's choices, you have to understand his heroes. Thomas Sankara, Burkina Faso's revolutionary president from 1983-1987, who was assassinated at 37 for trying to break French neo-colonial control. Sankara, who said, "He who feeds you controls you." Patrice Lumumba, Congo's first prime minister, assassinated in 1961 for refusing to let Belgian companies continue looting Congolese resources. Lumumba, who said, "We prefer freedom in poverty to opulence in slavery." Kwame Nkrumah, Ghana's independence leader, who warned about neo-colonialism decades before it became fashionable. Nkrumah, who said, "Seek ye first the political kingdom, and all else shall be added unto you." All of them died young. All of them died for challenging the system. All of them inspire Ibrahim Traoré, but Ibrahim also studies their mistakes. Sankara was too idealistic, too trusting. Lumumba was too isolated, and Nkrumah was too theoretical. Maybe there's another way. The economic miracle. By 2025, something undeniable is happening in Burkina Faso. GDP growth accelerates despite international sanctions. The gold refinery processes its first batch of local gold, keeping 200 million in value that previously left the country. Agricultural output increases as the government invests in irrigation and local seeds instead of importing foreign varieties. But the real change is psychological. For the first time in decades, young Burkinabés are staying home instead of risking their lives crossing the Sahara to reach Europe. University enrollment increases. Local businesses flourish. Ibrahim's government launches Operation Green Gold, combining gold mining revenues with agricultural development. They build roads connecting rural areas to markets. They construct storage facilities so farmers aren't forced to sell crops at harvest time prices. It's working, but success brings new challenges. Regional neighbors worry about Burkina Faso's growing influence. International mining companies lose billions in extraction rights. Former colonial powers watch nervously as their carefully constructed system of economic dependence starts cracking. The youth revolution. The most profound change isn't economic, it's generational. Across West Africa, young people start calling themselves Generation Traoré, not because they worship Ibrahim personally, but because he represents something they thought was impossible, an African leader who puts Africa first. University students in Ghana protest against continued economic dependence on former colonial powers. Youth movements in Senegal demand renegotiation of mining contracts with foreign companies. Even in South Africa, young activists invoke Burkina Faso's example in demanding land redistribution. The revolution is spreading. Ibrahim doesn't actively encourage these movements. He's too smart to be seen as destabilizing other governments, but his mere existence changes the conversation. African youth now have a reference point that isn't about begging for aid or apologizing for being African. The assassination attempts, power that threatens established order, always attracts violence. 2024 brings 3 separate assassination attempts against Ibrahim. The first, a poisoning attempt at a state dinner. The second, a roadside bomb on his convoy route. The third, an insider plot involving senior military officers allegedly connected to foreign intelligence services. Each attempt fails. Each attempt makes him stronger. After the third attempt, Ibrahim addresses the nation. They try to kill the man because they cannot kill the idea. But ideas are bulletproof. The idea that Africa belongs to Africans is bulletproof. The speech goes viral across the continent. Ideas are bulletproof trends for weeks, but privately, Ibrahim knows the truth that haunts every revolutionary. Thomas Sankara thought his ideas were bulletproof too, until they weren't. The education revolution, Ibrahim's most radical reform, might be the quietest one. 2025. Burkina Faso's education system undergoes complete restructuring. French remains an official language, but more and other local languages become mandatory in primary schools. History classes now teach pre-colonial African civilizations with the same depth previously reserved for European history. But the real revolution is in the curriculum. Science classes emphasize local applications, how to improve millet yields, how to purify water using local materials, how to build solar panels from available components. Mathematics uses examples from African trade networks and indigenous counting systems. The goal isn't to reject modernity, it's to build modernity on African foundations. Within 2 years, literacy rates improve dramatically. More importantly, students start seeing education as relevant to their lives instead of preparation for emigration. International education experts call it regressive. African parents call it finally relevant. The Continental vision. By 2025, Ibrahim has evolved from revolutionary to statesman. He launches the Sahel Renaissance Initiative, a partnership with Mali and Niger that goes beyond military cooperation. Joint infrastructure projects, shared currency discussions, cultural exchange programs, but his vision extends beyond the Sahel. Ibrahim starts quietly meeting with other young African leaders. Not dramatic summits or photo opportunities, private conversations about building what he calls economic sovereignty networks. The idea is simple but revolutionary. African countries trade with each other using African-controlled payment systems, African shipping networks, African financial institutions. No more routing all trade through London, Paris, or New York. The concept gains traction. Ethiopia offers to host the first African payment clearinghouse. Kenya suggests regional manufacturing hubs. Even traditional Western allies like Ghana start exploring alternatives to European-dominated trade networks. The personal cost, but revolution demands sacrifice, even from revolutionaries. Ibrahim's marriage, already strained by the pressures of leadership, faces new challenges. His wife struggles with constant security threats. Their children can't have normal childhoods. Family time becomes a luxury that threatens national security. Power isolates even those who never sought it. Former friends become either sycophants or critics. Genuine relationships become impossible when every conversation might be recorded, every gesture analyzed for political meaning. Ibrahim's closest advisors worry about his health. The weight of carrying an entire nation's hopes, of knowing that millions of young Africans see him as their last hope for dignity, it's crushing. Sometimes at 3 a.m., he sits alone in his office, reading about Thomas Sankara's final days, wondering if history is doomed to repeat itself. The global chess game, 2025, brings new international pressures. China offers massive infrastructure investments, but Ibrahim has watched other African countries become trapped in debt dependencies. He negotiates carefully, accepting some projects while maintaining strict oversight. Russia provides military training and equipment, but Ibrahim insists on technology transfers so Burkina Faso can eventually produce its own weapons. The United States, realizing sanctions aren't working, tries a different approach, offering partnership programs that look suspiciously like the old aid dependencies. Ibrahim has studied this game. He knows every move. His response frustrates everyone. Selective engagement. Take what serves Burkina Faso's interests, Reject what doesn't. Never become dependent on any single partner. We will be nobody's puppet, he tells his cabinet. Not France's, not America's, not China's, not Russia's. Burkina Faso stands for Burkina Faso. The Continental Awakening. By mid-2025, something unprecedented is happening across Africa. The Traoré effect, though he never calls it that, is reshaping continental politics. Not through military intervention or political manipulation, but through example. In Tanzania, a new president renegotiates mining contracts, keeping more revenue in country. In Zambia, the government launches its own copper refinery. In Nigeria, young politicians campaign on resource sovereignty platforms. The conversation has changed. African Union meetings, once dominated by discussions of aid and development partnerships with former colonial powers, now focus on intra-African trade, continental payment systems, and resource value addition. Ibrahim rarely takes credit publicly, but privately, he knows this was always the goal. Not to rule Africa, but to inspire Africans to rule themselves. The ultimate test. 2025 brings Ibrahim's greatest challenge yet. Intelligence services report a coordinated international effort to destabilize Burkina Faso. Not through military intervention, that would be too obvious. Instead, through economic warfare, cyber attacks, and support for internal dissidents. The plan is sophisticated. Make the people suffer, then blame Ibrahim. Food prices spike due to artificial shortages. Power grids face mysterious failures. Social media floods with rumors about government corruption. This is the moment every African revolutionary fears, when external enemies and internal problems converge into a perfect storm. Ibrahim faces a choice that will define his legacy. Double down on authoritarian control to survive the crisis, or maintain democratic principles and risk everything he's built being destroyed. The moral crossroads. The pressure is unbearable. His security chiefs urge him to declare martial law. His economic advisors suggest temporary compromises with international financial institutions. His political advisors recommend cracking down on dissent. Every option betrays someone. Ibrahim locks himself in his office for 3 days. No meetings, no public appearances, just him, history books, and the weight of a continent's hopes. He reads Sankara's final speeches, studies Mandela's prison writings, analyzes how other revolutionary leaders navigated similar crises. On the 3rd day, he makes his decision. The choice. Ibrahim emerges from his office and calls a press conference, standing before local and international media, wearing simple military fatigues instead of ceremonial uniforms. He makes an announcement that shocks everyone. I will step down from the presidency in 2027 as originally promised. Free and fair elections will be held. I will not be a candidate. The room erupts. But he continues, however, I will spend the next 2 years ensuring that the institutions we've built are strong enough to survive beyond any individual leader. The gold refinery will be owned by the people, not the government. The education reforms will be constitutionally protected. The economic sovereignty initiatives will be managed by continental institutions, not national ones. This is the masterstroke nobody expected. By voluntarily limiting his own power, Ibrahim makes himself politically bulletproof. His enemies can't overthrow him. He's already planning to leave. His supporters can't accuse him of betrayal. He's fulfilling his original promise. But most importantly, he's institutionalizing the revolution. The legacy builder. The final 2 years of Ibrahim's presidency become the most transformative. Knowing he won't be in power to protect his reforms, he focuses obsessively on making them irreversible. The gold refinery becomes a continental model, with other African countries building similar facilities. The education system gets enshrined in the Constitution. The military reforms create professional institutions that serve the nation, not individuals. He's not just building policies. He's building culture. Young Burkinabe who once dreamed of escaping to Europe now dream of building African Silicon Valleys. Students who once memorized European history now debate African solutions to African problems. Soldiers who once saw military service as a path to corruption now see it as service to continental liberation. The psychological revolution is complete. The Continental Father, 2026, brings an unexpected development. African Union members elect Ibrahim as chairman, not because he seeks the position, but because his voluntary power limitation has earned continental respect. Even leaders who initially opposed him now see him as someone who can bridge different approaches to governance. His final year in Burkina Faso becomes his first year as continental leader. From this platform, Ibrahim launches the Africa 2050 vision, a comprehensive plan for economic integration that goes beyond trade agreements to include educational standardization, infrastructure coordination, and cultural exchange. The vision is ambitious but practical. By 2050, African countries would trade with each other using African payment systems, educate their children in African-owned institutions, and resolve conflicts through African-led mediation. Not isolation from the world, but engagement. As equals, not supplicants. The torch passing, 2027. Election day in Burkina Faso. Ibrahim's chosen successor, a brilliant economist named Dr. Fatimata Ouedraogo, faces multiple opponents in genuinely competitive elections. International observers, initially skeptical, confirm the process is free and fair. The revolution has survived its greatest test, transfer of power. Dr. Ouedraogo wins with 52% of the vote, promising to continue economic sovereignty initiatives while expanding democratic institutions. In her victory speech, she thanks Ibrahim for showing us that true leadership means knowing when to step aside. Ibrahim watches from the audience, no longer president, but somehow more powerful than ever. The global statesman, post-presidency, Ibrahim Traoré becomes something unprecedented, an African leader whose influence grows after leaving office. He establishes the African Leadership Institute, training young administrators in resource management, economic policy, and governance ethics. He mediates conflicts across the continent, respected by all sides for his principled approach to power. But his greatest impact is symbolic. Young Africans across the continent now have an example of what's possible. Not perfection. Ibrahim made mistakes, took controversial positions, faced legitimate criticism, but he showed that African leaders can serve African interests without apology. The psychological chains of colonialism, once seemingly permanent, now look temporary. The measure of a man. 2030. 3 years after leaving office, Ibrahim Traoré is 42 years old. Burkina Faso has held another election. The candidate he opposed won, proving democratic institutions are stronger than personality politics. The gold refinery operates profitably under collective African ownership. The education system produces graduates who see African solutions as sophisticated, not primitive. The revolution survived its creator. International assessments are mixed. Western think tanks still label him a disruptive influence. African scholars increasingly call him a foundational figure. The people of Burkina Faso simply call him captain, the rank he held when he chose service over safety. History will decide his ultimate legacy, but young Africans have already decided. In universities across the continent, students study the Traoré model, voluntary power limitation combined with structural reform. They debate not whether African countries can achieve economic sovereignty, but how quickly they can achieve it. the conversation has permanently changed. The Mirror of Tomorrow, 2035. Ibrahim Traoré is 47, a continental elder statesman. Burkina Faso has become a middle-income country powered by value-added mining, agricultural processing, and educational exports. The Sahel Confederation now includes 7 countries. The African Payment Clearinghouse processes $500 billion annually in intra-African trade. But the real transformation is psychological. A generation of Africans has grown up seeing economic sovereignty as normal, not revolutionary. They negotiate with international partners from positions of strength, not desperation. They preserve traditional cultures while embracing beneficial technologies. They see themselves as equals in global conversations, not perpetual aid recipients. This is Ibrahim's true legacy, not what he built, but what he made possible. The price of dignity. Every story has a lesson. This one has several. First, dignity is not given, it's taken. Ibrahim Traoré didn't ask permission to put African interests first. He didn't apologize for prioritizing his people's needs over international preferences. He understood that respect is earned through strength, not granted through submission. Second, true power is the power to give power away. Ibrahim's greatest moment wasn't seizing the presidency. It was voluntarily limiting his time in office. He understood that institutions matter more than individuals, that movements outlast leaders, that revolution means changing systems, not just personnel. Third, change the conversation, change the world. Ibrahim's most profound impact wasn't policy reform, it was psychological liberation. He showed young Africans that they don't need to apologize for being African, don't need to beg for respect, don't need to accept economic colonialism as permanent. Fourth, the hardest battles are fought in minds, not on battlefields. Ibrahim defeated French neo-colonialism not with weapons, but with example. He conquered the psychology of dependency by demonstrating alternatives. He won the war for African dignity by refusing to accept that dignity was negotiable. But the deepest lesson is this: every generation gets leaders who reflect its aspirations. For too long, Africa got leaders who aspired to external validation, who measured success by Western approval, who saw their own people as obstacles to international acceptance. Ibrahim Traoré represents a different aspiration. Leaders who answer to their people, not their former colonizers, who measure success by local prosperity, not international praise, who see their cultures as foundations to build upon, not embarrassments to overcome. This isn't just his story, it's the story of what becomes possible when people decide they deserve better. The boy from Bondokuy became captain of an artillery regiment, then president of a nation, then inspiration for a continent. Not because he was perfect, but because he was authentic. Not because he never made mistakes, but because he never stopped serving, and the revolution continues. Because ideas, as Ibrahim Traoré said, are bulletproof. The idea that Africa belongs to Africans. The idea that dignity is non-negotiable. The idea that young people don't have to accept the limitations their parents endured. These ideas have taken root across a continent. They grow in the minds of students who study engineering in local languages. They flourish in the hands of entrepreneurs who build African solutions to African problems. They multiply in the hearts of young leaders who see service, not power, as the highest calling. Ibrahim Traoré's story isn't finished. It's just beginning. Because the true test of any revolution isn't whether it succeeds, but whether it inspires others to continue the work. Whether it changes not just policies, but possibilities. Whether it proves that different choices are possible. The verdict is in: a continent is awakening, a generation is rising, a new story is being written. And it started with a quiet boy from Bondokuy, who decided his people deserved dignity. The revolution is bulletproof. The revolution is contagious. The revolution is just getting started. He who feeds you controls you, but he who teaches you to feed yourself liberates you. The wisdom of Captain Ibrahim Traoré. Which African legend should echo next? Drop their name in the comments. And if you're ready for the full story of Thomas Sankara, hit that subscribe button. The revolution never sleeps.